Kozuki Oden, a true One Piece top tier, not just in power but also in just being a blimmin' good character. One Piece has literally hundreds of important and prominent characters, which is to be expected of a series that has been running as long as One Piece has. And despite introducing new characters all the time, it's very rare for a new character to instantly become one of my favourites. But that is what happened when Kozuki Oden entered the story just a few months ago. For reference in how I rank my favourite One Piece characters, my favourite character is Mihawk because I like that sword, followed by Shanks, Whitebeard and then Odin. Yes, I like Odin more than all the Straw Hats. Not to say I dislike them of course, as Luffy is my 5th favourite character, Zoro is my 6th and Jinbei my 7th. And now that Jinbei has officially joined the crew, I can say that without people complaining that Jinbei isn't technically a Straw Hat. But yeah, I think you're getting the point of just how much I like this character despite him only being properly introduced a dozen chapters ago. But before we get into what is the beauty of Kozuki Oden, I would like to ask you lovely viewers to like if you enjoy and to subscribe if you want to see more anime content from me. But I've wasted enough of your time, so let us examine Whitebeard's 2nd Division commander and the heir to the throne of the Shogun, Kozuki Oden. Kozuki Oden is dead, and that fact is pretty much set in stone, and if it isn't, well I'd hope Oda has a very good reason why, because Odin's death, at least for me, will go down as one of the greatest moments in One Piece, and his flashback arc is already one of my favourite parts of the whole story altogether. But before we discuss the death and legacy of Odin, we must first go back to his first introduction, and that is where we'll begin to peel back the layers of the mighty onion, Odin. Title sequence. Our first impression of Odin as readers was as a selfish, absolutely strong street hooligan that did whatever he wanted. He killed a bear at 4, began drinking at 8, and even had a harem of married women at 15. He was strong and selfish, that much was for certain. And even worse, we see him disgrace a funeral by cooking some Odin atop of the cremated remains of a man. How disrespectful and rude could a man be? And that's how we were meant to view him. But as we got to know Odin, all of that became obviously false. He wasn't holding those married women hostage, no, he was saving them from their abusive husbands, and he wasn't disrespecting a funeral, no, he was just having one last meal with his dead friend. Odin is just a Chad. And then when the mountain god attacked, it became abundantly clear what kind of man Odin was. Not only did he save the town from the rampaging swine, but he also took the blame for the whole incident. Kinemon never asked for Odin to take the blame, but Odin did it anyway, and as a result he was disowned by his father and exiled from the flower capital again like a Chad. He did all that just so Kinemon, a complete stranger at the time, wouldn't take the blame. And this selfish charisma was what attracted the rest of the scabbards to Odin's side, even if one was a spy and actor. But come on, no one expected Kanjuro to be the traitor, not anyone in the story, and don't say you did, as there really wasn't many clues to this being the case, but really I am just rambling at this point, possibly to get my view time up. He never asked any of his retainers to follow him, but they did so of their own accord. In this way Odin is quite a bit like Luffy, he attracts strong people and good friends to his side. And I know this has been said to death already, but Odin really is a mixture of Luffy, Zoro and Sanji, our monster trio. I mean, he has Luffy's charisma and dream for freedom, he has Zoro's incredible strength and swordsmanship, and has Sanji's loving heart and respect for women. Odin is what our main cast should aspire to be, truly a good man, but he is not without fault. But that is something I will discuss later on in the video, and is not a point for this early in the video. Odin then brought about peace to the bandits town of Kuri and became its daimyo. At just the age of 20 no less, what a blimmin' Chad. And then showed off his compassionate side even more when he saved Kawamatsu, Nekomamushi and Inuyasha, damn I got that all first take, from prosecution, stating that people should not be feared just because of their looks, which an Ugmon like me really relates to on a fundamental level. Can I get a prayer out there for all the Ugmons out there? Odin doesn't judge people based on their looks, a truly good man, and a blimmin' nice thing to do. He was accomplishing quite a lot in Wano, but still had one dream, to see the world. A bit like the Straw Hats, and that's when Odin's life as a pirate began. Title sequence. One Piece is a series about pirates, who could tell? So obviously one of the greatest characters in said series must have some relation to pirates. Kozuki Oden wanted to see the world, so when pirates arrived on his shore, he begged them to take them with him. However, these weren't any old pirates, they were the Whitebeard pirates led by the strongest man in the world, and although Newgate was definitely superior to Oda Odin in combat, the fact they clashed alone is enough to put into perspective how truly monstrous Odin is, and get all the power scalers jumping out of their chairs in shock. And that was just a joke. I respect the power scalers, because if they weren't here, who would power scale? Did you see how badly my One Punch Man power scaling video did? Yikes, not going to do that again. So to make sure I don't give up on character analysis videos as well, let's get this video to 69 likes. Am I edgy yet? But anyway, Whitebeard would not let Odin accompany them, and left. But yeah, that didn't stop Odin. He held onto the anchor of the Moby Dick for 3 days straight. A demonstration not just of strength and endurance, but also of resolve and pure willpower. And then when Odin only had 10 minutes left before Whitebeard would accept him onto his crew, he let go. Why? In order to save a woman, of course. Again we see Odin's righteousness and caring side. He saved Toki, but by doing so gave up his chance of exploring the world and essentially wasted 3 days of growing resilience, and in essence stomped out his own dream. And not many people in this series have the willpower to sacrifice their own dream. Odin once again is selfless for no reason other than to help another. I don't feel I need to retell the whole story of Odin's story as a pirate, but I would like to point out a few key details from his time as a pirate. Firstly, his daring, unfearing charge into enemy terrain reminded me a lot of Luffy, and the way he clashed with Goldie Roger without fear was, let's be honest, very impressive. He was basically essential in the Roger pirates finding Laftel with the whole poneglyph stuff, and without Odin, Roger may well have not even become the pirate king. Odin was an impressive pirate, but being at sea was not his destiny. Odin was the son of the Shogun, and it was his destiny to return to Wano. So after Roger disbanded the crew, that is where Odin went. He returned to Wano to his retainers and his family, but his home had changed. Title sequence. The Full Lord, that was what Odin became for 5 long years. He danced in the streets making a mockery of himself just to keep the citizens of Wano safe from Orochi and Kaido. If Odin wanted to, he could have stopped Kaido and Orochi as soon as he returned. It may have cost the lives of a few citizens, but he could have done it. But to Odin a few citizens was way too high a price to pay. Odin was not a pacifist, that's most definitely a fact, but he was not the kind of man to let an innocent person die. Odin humiliated himself for years to do what he considered was right. Logically, what Odin did potentially doomed the country, but the way Odin respected his own ideals was something to admire. Odin could very well have been a fool, but he was a fool with a golden heart. However, when innocent people were killed despite his efforts, Odin had had enough. He launched an attack on Kaido and almost won. However, the old hag disguised as his son was taken hostage, and Odin had no choice but to give up. Logically, Odin should have ignored his son and cut down Kaido for the greater good, but there's no way Odin could do that. He danced on the street for 5 years due to his love for his country, and surrendered to Kaido due to the love he had for his son. Odin was motivated by love, and as a result, he utterly and completely lost. Title sequence. The death of Odin, as I said before, is one of my favourite moments in the series, as it is so sad and yet so epic. Odin and his retainers were sentenced to death by boiling in oil. So what did Odin do? He stepped into the pot, held a wooden plank, and used it to hold up all his retainers and protect them from the oil. Chad level 100. Odin made Kaido promise that if he survived an hour in the pot, he and his retainers could go free, and as such had a hope he could at least save his retainers. Odin was a fool for trusting Kaido, but even so, what he did was motivated by, again, love. His love for his friends, his retainers. If not for what Odin did, they may not have survived, and when Kaido finally pulled the trigger and ended Odin with a shot to the head, it felt like the world lost something truly special. At the end, Kaido respected Odin as a warrior, and despite choosing to kill him, Kaido held great respect for the one warrior to ever scar his body. It was a legendary hour that ended in the death of Kozuki Oden. He loved his family, his retainers, and most importantly, his country. His will to reopen Wano's borders had been carried on by his retainers to the modern day, and by the end of this arc, I'm sure his will come to pass. But Odin was not flawless. He accepted his death pretty quickly after being captured due to his belief that in 20 years, Joy Boy would return. Odin was so sure of this fact coming to pass that he almost forgot about the present itself. Since returning to Wano, it is quite clear that Odin had been looking forward at the future and not at the present. He could have done more, but his faith that in 20 years Joy Boy would return was too strong. Odin, instead of waiting for some future saviour, should have taken the present into his own hands. Odin was not flawless. He was too fixated on the future and was too good for his own good. He could have stopped Kaido at the cost of a few innocent lives. But that's not who Odin is. Odin is a fool who would dance in the streets for 5 years for no other fact than to save a few innocent lives. Odin was not a perfect man, but he was about as good as one could be while still remaining human. He may have died, but his will lived on. Final title sequence. Odin's effect on the current story is vast, and ironically his death has affected the future just as much as he thought Joybo would when he was still alive himself. Odin's death and his will is what motivated not just the Scabbards but the whole of Wano's resistance. The whole of the post-time skip story has been building up to defeating Kaido. Essentially, the whole of the post-time skip story has been about Odin. Odin's will is being practiced by his retainers, their goal to defeat Kaido and open Wano's borders. But his will has also affected his children. From how it seems at the moment, Momo is nothing like Odin. He is not naturally strong, he is not a natural leader, and he isn't prepared to sacrifice his life for his country. In many respects, Hiyori is closer to Odin in these regards, and although I think Hiyori will have a massive part to play in this arc, and will probably end up saving Momo, and will probably become the next Shogun, that is all theory talk, so I will not dwell on it at the moment. Momo is being crushed under the weight of his father's shadow, and I think Momo has already realised that he is not his father. Not only is Odin's will sparing on the resistance, but it's also forcing Momo to develop as a character. And considering Momo may be a potential future Straw Hat, that is not a bad thing at all. I lied, this is actually the final title sequence. Odin is a man with a dream so strong he died to pass it on. He was strong, cool, and had a life full of so many amazing adventures. He was a respected daimyo, a pirate, and even a street dancing fool. But in all these situations, he was always Kozuki Oden. We may never see Odin again in the story, but that shouldn't change the fact that he is an incredible character and that his legacy will carry on, not just through this arc, but throughout the whole of the One Piece story going forward. Odin's flashback is potentially my favourite in the series, and I can't wait to reread it as soon as I finish recording this video. So thank you, Oda, for creating this remarkable character and for making his death so tragic yet so inspiring. I have been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek. Check out my Twitter at SethDS and my Instagram at SethTheSin_cosplay. With all that said, I am signing out. Stay safe out there everyone, and don't let the illness get you down.